Hi there, welcome to the Chattering Hour. I'm joined today by Eileen Dietz, and we talk about how she got her start in theatre, working with Anthony Perkins on the off-Broadway production of STEAMBATH, her role in the independent film The Diary of David Holtzman, which fortunately her father didn't get to see, and of course we talk about The Exorcist, and she assures me she tells a story she's never told before. All that and much more up next on the Chattering Hour with Eileen Dietz. Eileen Dietz's career spans over 50 years and 116 roles to date. After The Exorcist, she went on to appear in TV series such as General Hospital and The Planet of the Apes. She's also starred and appeared in many independent horror films. Her autobiography is titled Exorcising My Demons. Eileen, thank you so very much for joining me here today.
It's my pleasure.
Good. Now, I want to take us right back to the very beginning, if I may. So you were born in New York City. What was your childhood like?
Interesting. I'm actually a twin, who's has nothing to do in the business. But she sadly got crippled when she was little. And so instead of being a twin, I kind of became a middle child. And I have an older sister who is the princess. And naturally, my twin sister needed a lot of attention. So I became that proverbial middle child, which is probably why I'm an actor today, because nobody paid any attention to me. It was like, look at me, look at me.
You know, it's really interesting because I come from a family of three. My younger brother, the next brother down, he had three kids as well. And I remember my mum talking about the middle child syndrome. You know, because
it's real.
It's very real because I mean, the eldest, I don't know, it was like in your family, I'm the eldest, and it's like, okay, you're the eldest, you have to behave responsibly. And then there's the middle child, and oh, who's that? I was who's that? I was and then I thought, because the third one comes along, they're the youngest. They always get.
Oh, they're the little baby.
Yeah,
they'll always be the little baby. But
yeah.
you know, it worked out. It probably, I was a real independent kid, real feisty, like I'm not now. But I was extremely independent. I didn't care what anybody thought or said. I had a bad mouth as a child. I was always punished. But I always I just remember wanting to be an actress from the time I was 7.
Really?
And yeah, and my parents didn't approve of it, but then my father was in the modeling business. He was sleeping with his models. I found out much later.
Right.
And so I think he always thought that I couldn't be successful unless I slept around too. They didn't want me to be hurt and stuff, but I didn't care. That was my thing.
And were you watching films as a kid?
Well, the first thing that I totally remember is my mother took us to see Peter Pan, and in a huge snowstorm. This is all in my book, by the way. But there's a huge snowstorm, and we were sitting in the balcony, and I totally remember this. I thought that if I jump on the stage, I can be one of the little lost boys, and then I can be an actress. And then I thought, what if I miss the stage and end up in the audience? And I said, that's not going to work, and promptly fell asleep.
I not realize, and your book, Exorcising Your Demons, we'll come to much later on. After we had kind of caught up about Exorcist, but so what was your first acting job then?
Actually, what would have been my first acting job is I wanted to go to summer stock, and I didn't know how to do that. So I just took a whole bunch of Kodak pictures, you know, the little brownie cameras they used to have then, and I just sent it out to summer stock companies. But then I got accepted into one, but my parents wouldn't let me go because they thought that they, the producer director only wanted me to come out there because of the, you know, badly. So my first real acting job, actually, that came true. That was my Me Too experience. And I went out to Michigan, to Kalamazoo, and he promised me all these parts. And, you know, I should have known then, but he promised me the leads and all these parts and everything. And I told everybody in New York, wow, I'm going to be a professional, blah, blah, blah. And he got me out there, immediately took me into his office and started trying to unbutton my blouse and mess up my hair. It was horrible. And to make it worse, he backed up to get a drink and he almost put his eye out on the shelf. And he started screaming like a stuck pig. With that, the entire company came in to see what was happening, including, it happened to be Adrienne Barbeau, but I didn't know it was Adrienne Barbeau at the time. And they all saw me sitting there all rumpled up and, you know, with my hair a mess. So God knows what they thought. But they didn't think I was innocent. And it went on like that. And I didn't have any parts in the show. I had one part in Camelot where I said, I intend to be a knight of the round table. And eventually he fired me because he didn't get what he wanted. After he ruled me for a little girl who was gay. And there was a hole. I can write a whole book about that. There was a hole in the wall so he could look at us. But I did find out that I wasn't gay. And then he fired me. And as the wonderful author of my book, he said, was riding home in a bus. What was I going to tell everybody in New York? I looked down in my hand. I had my equity card. I was a professional actress. So that was the beginning and end of that story.
Wow. How old would you have been?
I think I was just turned 18. It was before The Exorcist.
Right. So you trained at the neighborhood playhouse, is that right?
Well, I did. I was a teenager, and it wasn't much. And here I go again. The teacher just paid all his attention to this really pretty girl who had boobs. And he cast me in this little part in Dark of the Moon, which is a great play, by the way.
It is.
So I don't know why. I just had all these Me Too experiences. But, I felt like I was a real actress, but I didn't tell anybody because they all made fun of me if I said I wanted to be an actress. I was like 5 foot, 4 foot nothing, and buck-toothed, flat-chested. I looked anything like what a real actress would look like. So I didn't tell anybody. It was my secret fantasy on Saturdays. It was kind of cool.
Okay, because you went on to do what some people consider to be an incredibly important independent film, David Holtzman's Diary. How did that come about?
Oh gosh, no, I don't remember really. I don't remember. Did I audition for it? Did someone? I think someone just recommended me for it because I don't remember auditioning for it. And it was a great experience. To this day, it's a great experience. Yeah. And that film is taught. It became like this artistic thing, and it's taught in schools all over the country.
So what was because there was nudity?
Say what?
There was nudity. You had nudity in that film, right in thinking.
I got a story about that too.
Go on.
I didn't want to shoot it, but the whole crew was standing around, and they said, well, if you're sleeping, you have to be nude. And I said, there was so much peer pressure. And I said, okay, nobody's ever going to see it. I'm riding on a bus down Fifth Avenue, reading Life magazine. There's my picture, the nude one. It's kind of dark and in shadows, and they didn't mention my name. But there I was running. What happens is I'm sleeping, and David Holtzman is he wants to put his life on tape so he can go backwards and forwards. And he broke the fourth wall, which is why the film is so memorable today. he's talking to the audience. I think it was the first time anybody did that. So he's filming me sleeping, and that's when I jump up, run to him, and grab the camera. So that's the picture in Life magazine. I went, oh shit, my father's going to see this. But he didn't.
Right. Because there's a really interesting article in the New Yorker all about the importance. And
I'm sorry. Keep talking a little louder for me because you're
Sure.
very hoarse.
Oh, I am very hoarse, and I will move I'll move the microphone closer to my mouth. That will help as well.
You guys just speak British, which is a foreign language.
Yeah,
when I go to London, I swear to God, I got to get people to slow down. And because most Brits don't move their lips when they talk. You do, but many don't. And so, yeah, I said,
yeah, particularly in London, because it's the Cockney accent, and you do a Cockney accent, you don't actually move your mouth. Yeah,
just like that.
It's locked jaw. Yes.
And when you're studying dialects, that's what you pick up.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen the film, but it looks fascinating. I mean, there is a sequence where he literally films what he's watching on TV that night. I'm thinking Chris Rowe will love it, because it's all about one of the Star Trek episodes, where he basically compresses 3 hours of TV into 2 or 3 minutes.
I don't think I want Chris Rowe to see me nude, though.
And that's a fair point.
It's so dark, though. It's so, well, I don't know. It's not. But, if he wants to see it, it's out there. Anybody listening to the show now that's a fan, go, oh, I'm going to rent that.
Yeah, just Google it. It's there. But you then went...
there's a book out, too, about the screenplay.
Oh, really?
And that shot's in the book.
Okay. That sounds very interesting. But you also, back in 1970, you appeared in the off-Broadway production of STEAMBATH, which was directed by Anthony Perkins. What was that like?
That everything I do has a story to it, but first of all, I love Tony Perkins. He's the most wonderful, gracious, lovely guy, and we became kind of friends. I saw him right before he died. He died of AIDS. He was the guy. My mother came to New York when he was doing that film about horses.
Right.
Where he cuts off the heads of the horses.
Oh, Equus? Yes. Yes.
What was it? It was one word. But Equus? He got my mother. Yes.
Equus.
And he got my mother, like orchestra seats and stuff. And that was way after the show. He was a wonderful man, but he always wanted to take over. He wanted to do the lead. And they went through 3 different actors. And they're paying them all pay and play, which means you pay them whether they do the show or not, right? They went through 3 actors, Dick Shawn, Rip Torn, and Charles Grodin. Charles just died. May he rest in peace. And eventually he just ended up doing the part himself.
Wow. But you had...
It was exciting. We just previewed forever because of all the actors that they, and everybody thought we were going to Broadway. So they paid us Broadway money to do off Broadway. And it never went to Broadway. But it's famous.
Yeah. No, absolutely. No, it's still...
No, it was a great experience. I loved it. I remember I was understudying the lead and doing a part in the show. And of course, I took over the lead. Oh, there was a nude scene there too. It was the 70s. Everybody was naked in the 70s. But I was so flat-chested that someone in the audience said, gee, I thought I'd be embarrassed to see someone nude, but I didn't even know she was nude. So the whole thing was, it was just a great experience. I absolutely loved it.
Right. I'm sorry, you keep on saying how flat-chested you are, but having watched a little bit of David Holtzman's diary, I'm not sure I agree with you, but, I
became a woman a couple of years ago.
Right. Now, obviously, after you did STEAMBATH, you did the role for which I think most people will know you for you did the film, and that was William Friedkin's The Exorcist. How did that come about? Was this an audition?
Yeah, you talk about theater. I did another play in New York called The Ontological Proof of My Existence, which means there is no proof. And it was a Joyce Carol Oates play that some people really know her. She always wrote about wrestling and boxing and fighters, and she was very well known at that period. Anyway, it was a prologue she wrote, and two agents came to see the show. And people say, "Why do you do free theater? Why do you?" Well, this is why. Two agents came to see the show, called me up the next day, and asked me if I wanted to audition for a show called The Exorcist. And they wanted someone small and strong that could act. So I did actually 3 auditions for the casting director, and then she said the first time, go back home, read the book, which I read, in an hour. The book is even better than the film. By Bill Blatty, who I became friends with, but we go there. So I did that, but I didn't know how a demon was supposed to sound. So I went to the library and I got all these books about wild animals because it was the closest I thought I could come. And I came home and I pulled all my shades. We had shades then. Pulled the shades down. We had radiators. Pulled the shades down, lit candles, and just work going, any kind of animal things that I could think of. And I used that in the improv. I did 2 improvs for her. And then I met Billy Friedkin and Dick Smith, the godfather of makeup, the best guy in the whole world, did a screening. Went to Dick's studio so he could do some light masks and did a screen test.
Right. Now, so you wrote the script, you got a part in the script and so on, but now there are some horror stories from that set of The Exorcist. What was William Friedkin like to work with?
Next question.
No, come on.
He was, he was, we all felt he was difficult to work with, except for Ellen Burstyn, until, this is a well-known story. They tied a rope around, when, I suppose most people have seen the film. So when they come in and they see me for the first time and scream, and then she gets pushed, or the demon pushes her across the room, and he tied a rope around her so that they could grab her, and she hurt her back. And she still talks about how it shouldn't have happened and how her back always hurt from that point on. He was just difficult. He shot off guns. That same scene, he shot off a gun, not at anybody, but he shot off a gun. And the first time the gun went off, everybody went, "What the fuck was that? What was that?" And the second time it went off, or the second take, it was like, "Oh, what's that?" The third time it was like, kind of, "What's that?" But he liked to do things like that. But he didn't direct me very much at all. So I was kind of left to my own devices.
I didn't make it clear earlier on, you were cast as the character known as Captain Howdy.
No, the Captain Howdy, that was actually decided on the very last day of shooting, the very last day. And it came from a makeup test. And I totally regret. I had lunch with Dick Smith, and the woman who was taking care of him said, "No, don't ask him any questions. He was slipping into dementia. Don't ask him any questions because he'll get confused and da-da-da." And I listened to her, and I'm really sorry because I don't know how the idea for Captain Howdy came, whose idea it was to use that makeup. It was obviously Dick's, but how he came up with that. And we shot that the very last day of shooting. And just a side story, I got cast in a commercial that day because they kept saying, "Oh, no, we're going to be done." They actually took 14 months to shoot that movie, from pre-production to post-production. You know how weird that is.
Yeah.
So come the fateful day, I'm supposed to do a commercial, and they went, You have to come in here. This is, we'll report you to the Screen Actors Guild. And the commercial people said, no, you made a commitment to come here. We're going to report you to this. See, you can see my life is one big adventure, right? But I came up on top. I spoke to the commercial people. I don't know where and I said, hey, how many spots are you shooting? And they said 3. If I get out there in the afternoon, will that be okay? They said, yeah. I told the whole crew, because they were lollygagging. They'd set up shots at, their own pace and stuff. But we did all those shots in the morning. I think we did 6 different takes, and they just went boom, boom, boom. Got out to the commercial, and I did the commercial.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, nobody knew that, and you know why it's called Captain Howdy, right?
No.
Is playing with the Ouija board, and Ellen Burstyn goes, "Who are you talking to?" And she said, I'm talking to Captain Howdy," and that's how Captain Howdy's name became Captain Howdy, as opposed to, or also Pazuzu, which is the real name of the fallen angel.
Right, right. So
that's Pazuzu.
Yes.
It's for sale.
We'll come back to that later. What was physically the hardest thing that you had to do on The Exorcist then? I guess when you're...
The masturbation scene? No.
I'd accept that as an answer, but...
No, that was done to the stomach, to a bloody sponge. I never said that before. Chris would love that. Oh no, he would love that. He talks about that scene all the time. Well, I guess the most challenging was the vomiting scene, because they had to put an appliance on my mouth, both sides, which looked like a horse's bit, and like that. I had a little tiny hole in it, and then it went under the prosthetics, and they literally pumped it from backstage. And so what I had to do is, as I felt the green pea soup coming, and it is green pea soup coming through, then to do that. But you couldn't talk. God forbid, I used to smoke cigarettes at the time. So I couldn't smoke, I couldn't talk, I couldn't eat. Me not talking is tough. So that was most physically demanding.
Right. Because were you involved in the levitation scene at all, or was that?
Oh, yeah, but that wasn't hard.
Right.
We both did that. We both did the levitation.
Right.
I guess the other challenging thing was that the room was kept at, sometimes 5 degrees, 4 degrees. It was really cold, and because you can see everybody's breath coming out.
Right.
Wetsuits on. We had nightgowns on, and some days it was just so cold. I can't do this today.
Right.
Dear God, I can't do this. But you did it anyway, and that was challenging. But Max von Sydow was so sweet, because he was obviously near the bed, and he was just so nice. And he said, "Eileen, anything you need is out." I wish I could do a Swedish accent, but if there's anything you need, we'll do it for you, and we're there for you, and stuff like that.
Oh, Max! Yes, I hear great things about Max von Sydow.
May he rest in peace too. Just a great guy.
Right. Now, you mentioned you both were involved, and obviously you're talking about Linda Blair. And sadly, you've had a falling out with Linda. How did that happen?
One of those things you do in life that you wish you hadn't done because it has vast implications in your life. I was married to someone else at the time, and Warner Brothers invited me to come out after the film, just because everything was happening with The Exorcist, I guess. And my instinct was not to go. If we all live by our gut, just think how our lives would be. And I was venting a little. Nobody was giving me any credit, blah, blah, blah. But, I would have stayed. My ex-husband convinced me to go. When I got there, the gossip columnist at the time, Joyce Haber, actually, she had a friend who was in my acting class in New York. So they released the story that there was this girl in LA that was claiming to be in the film. And they didn't want that. Well, first of all, they loved the publicity because it became who did what when. And it was around Watergate for you American listeners. Who did what when? It was, you know, I got my fame that I always wanted, but not in the way I wanted it. You know, when they say there's no such thing as bad publicity, I'm here to tell you, yes, there is. So that's what happened. And they just denied my existence. And because they wanted Linda to win the Oscar and the film to win the Oscar. And it was tough. The 3 agents were going to sign me. They dropped me because at that time you didn't buck the studios. You just didn't. And I finally found a small boutique agent, and I started working again. I did Planet of the Apes, the TV show.
Right.
But no, it was just obviously it was really tough.
Right. Because you got called in to see William Friedkin. Is that right?
Yeah, they had a meeting. He walked into the room and he looked at me and he said, I mean, I was so excited. I was walking down the Warner Brothers lot. I mean, and all these actors have been there and famous people. And I was walking the streets that they walked on. I just had, the sun was shining and I had this big smile on my face. I walked in, he walks out and he goes, "You're never going to work in this town again," and left. And the sun went away and the clouds happened. I mean, I was devastated. I thought I wasn't going to work again. And the sad thing was that I didn't do anything wrong. And then The Exorcist didn't win any Oscars. Number one, because horror films didn't win Oscars. Linda won the Golden Globe. But see, everybody in Hollywood knew Linda didn't do all that work, which meant that I was, besides Captain Howdy, I was made up to look like Reagan. So that's when I did all the fun scenes, the masturbation, the vomiting, the levitation, the death scene, all that stuff. So I did all of that. And I think they won an Oscar for Misery.
Yeah.
If actors won Oscars, Malcolm McDowell would have won an Oscar for Clockwork Orange.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's what the thing is with Linda. And she was young. I mean, she was 12 years old. And somehow they convinced her that I did what I didn't do. She, unfortunately, won't do conventions with me. Because she thinks that cost her the Oscar. And if she had won the Oscar, she would have had the career.
Yes. Yeah. That is very, very
Which
sad.
is silly. Because, I mean, I know who won the Oscar last year, who won the Oscar 2 years ago. But they ran one of my clips on the stage during Oscar night, so I figured I got my Oscar.
Yes, and it's not just yourself and Mercedes McCambridge who did the
do you know, actually, this is a great piece of trivia. I promised I would listen, so stop me if I keep going too much. This is a great piece of trivia that, because it's my contention that Billy Friedkin had come out and said there were actually 6 people that created the part of Reagan. And if they had come out and said that and said, look, we're geniuses, nobody knew. Everybody thought it was just one little girl. Look how great we are, that you had the lighting double, stunt double, the girl who did the spider walk, Mercedes McCambridge, Linda Blair, and myself. So they took 6 of us and made this one character out of it, and nobody knew. And that's great filmmaking, but they chose to want everybody to think Linda did all that work, including the masturbation scene.
It's strange.
And Gil Cates also said, Gil Cates was the president of the Academy, and he hated The Exorcist. And he said, if The Exorcist wins the Oscar for Best Picture, I'm stepping down.
Well, yes, but I also, talking about the 6 people who created the character of Reagan, kind of, it's still going on today in the way that stuntmen are really not acknowledged
No,
by the Oscars at all.
no.
You know, there is no Oscar for stuntmen. And yet, if you look at all the DVD extras, I just happened to be watching it on one of the Marvel ones, and Chris Evans is just praising his stunt double. The actor on The Mandalorian explaining how, you know, there's 3 of them underneath the mask in The Mandalorian who have all got different skills. It's his
It
voice.
comes in and out.
Yeah. But, you know, the guy who specializes in doing all the kung fu stuff and the fighting and the other stuff.
Yeah.
And this is how movies are made. We all know this.
Well,
yes.
that's why I think Hollywood didn't like the idea of the, you know, like the wool being pulled over their eyes. It was kind of like, we know Linda didn't do that whole movie. Didn't do that part. And so what? You know?
Yeah. What did you think of The Exorcist when you saw it?
I don't know. I saw it at a screening, and it was good. It was good. We all liked it. The biggest scare I had was when they go into the attic and they find out that it's a rat. The whole place jumped. But yeah, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. The film is still called the absolute scariest movie of all time, 40 something years later.
Yeah.
So obviously it works on several different levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is I'd like to differentiate between horror and thrillers. And because horror nowadays is just all blood and guts, and you know, I read some scripts, you probably do, that all it is people pulling people apart and dying in horrible ways, but there's no plot, there's no characters, there's no plot, there's no beginning, middle, and end. So I like to call things like The Exorcist a thriller, not horror, or Rosemary's Baby, or even the Halloween franchises, you know, or Friday the 13th. They all have people and characters and plots, and begin, you know, and most horror films end happy. But you know what I'm saying?
Sure. Now, before we move on, is there anything else about The Exorcist you think you'd like to say?
Is there anything else you'd like to ask me? I'm very, very grateful, despite all the problems I had, and you know, that I did think my career was over. I'm very, very grateful that I had the opportunity, that I do horror conventions with you. It's totally, absolutely changed my life. So I'd really, really like to make friends with Linda, but I don't think that's going to happen. You know, I mean, bless her. I don't know what she's doing with her life. I know it's complicated. I do know it's complicated.
Right.
But they love her doing shows. So, and they won't use both of us. So it's a little bit of a thorn in my side that they'll use Linda instead of me.
Right.
Aliens could come down and pick her up and take her away. Nice aliens.
Nice. Oh yeah, no, we don't wish her any harm.
Yeah, no, I do that with all people that I have vast disagreements with. Because you can't wish them dead. That's not nice, or hurt or anything. So I just say aliens are going to come down, take them in a spaceship, and just take them away for a while.
I love that. I like that idea, because you know, I always feel guilty when I think, I really just wish that person just.
What? I'm sorry.
There are people who you just think, I really don't like that person, you know, a politician, whoever it is, and you just think, yeah, and you think, no, I can't wish them dead. That's ridiculous. That's terrible. Right. But yeah, I like the idea of nice aliens taking people away. That would be a really popular, busy service, wouldn't it, if that was true? That you had.
Yeah, well, I mean, in my long life, there's probably only about 3 people. That's not bad.
No. That's really good. That's very, very good.
that I really, really, you know, don't want in my life, and that have really hurt me.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned earlier on that you, despite William Friedkin and all the controversy, you did go on, you had a very good career. One of the things that you did was General Hospital. How did you get into General Hospital?
It was really not nice. I did audition for that, but after I decided I had to find work for myself when I was in California, choosing not to go back home, got divorced from the idiot. I didn't know you couldn't walk on a lot. So I walked on the 20th Century Fox lot. I mean, you couldn't do it now. I walked on the lot and I walked into Marvin Page's office and he was casting the aforementioned Planet of the Apes.
Right.
And I said, I want to be an ape. And he went, okay, why don't you read for me? And so I read for him and they cast me. And then I did the same thing with a kid show called Korg 70,000 BC, which was Neanderthal people. I just walked into the office and did that. So that's what I did. And Marvin Page, he called me up and asked me to audition for it. And I did. And of all, I mean, I like every show I did. I liked the last show I did in Cincinnati that I just came back from. I had a great time doing that. Cicadas. You ever heard of the cicada? The bug? They come out 17 years. So I went up there during the 17th year. They're amazing. But I like everything that I ever did. But General Hospital was really special because I played a character in a mental hospital. You see a pattern here? But she carried a doll around with a gun in its head because she felt she was responsible for killing her best friend and decided that if she didn't grow up, she wouldn't have to be responsible. And so that was my whole character, you know, being like 17. And I always looked very, very young, like now. But it was so wonderful because I insisted not to get, you know, soap opera makeup. And I just wanted, you know, real simple because I said she's in a mental hospital. So subsequently, people all over the country were able to write me and say, you know, we really love you because we can relate to you because you don't wear any makeup and were you really in a mental hospital? So I felt like I was really, without sounding corny or something, I felt like I was really giving something back. And at that time, we didn't do conventions. And we signed autographs for free, or I did a lot of shows that were for charity or stuff like that. And I just really felt that was, not only was the work every day just incredible, because the writers loved writing for my character. And she was always getting into something or not. And, you know, her roommate would just leave her and she'd go, but Heather, do you love me? You know, I need you to be my friend. But every day I came into work, I had great, great stuff to do. And so, again, I was extremely grateful for that. I loved it all it's a lot of work, as you might know, doing soap. Sometimes I had 30 pages of dialogue a night to learn. But they write for you. So it becomes part of you and your character of what to say. So it becomes rather easy to learn the lines. But it's doing soap operas, people always said, or they say, oh, it's a great training ground. No, it's not. You better damn well know what you're doing when you get cast because it's quick. You know, they have, you know, a blocking rehearsal, a dress rehearsal, and then you're on. So you better know what you're doing.
Right, right. That's very interesting. How long did you do General Hospital for?
A couple of years. And then the writers all left. And it's one of those things. Because I mean, I would do General Hospital now. But the writers all left in a contract dispute, and they loved the character. And Gloria Monty, may she rest in peace, didn't care about the character at all. So that's what happened.
Right, right, right. But I know that you met Sally Field at one stage.
Yeah, well, Sally Field, of course, was my idol growing up because we were the same size. I don't know if she was flat-chested. Um, but we were about the same size, about 5'1" ish. And I just loved her from the time she did The Flying Nun. She did a movie of the week called, how did it just go out of my head? I'll forgive it in a second. Oh, she played Sybil. She played 6 different characters. And I just followed her career always. I still do. So we went to see a show at the Greek that Cher was performing. You know, we were guests. And we went to a VIP party, and Sally Field was there. And oh my God. Oh my God. And I mean, you can imagine, right? And so I said, I've never done this in my life, but I have to walk up to her and tell her how much I love her work. As I got up there, Sally Field looks at me and she goes, oh my God, you played Sarah on General Hospital. I watched you all the time when, you know, I think when I was bringing my kids up. You were fabulous. Well, my chin absolutely dropped to the floor. I didn't know what to say. It was kind of like, so that's my story. Of course, I probably said something like, I love you too. But yeah, that was my experience.
Wow. 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 That's so new. That is very, very cool. Now, Brick, you were talking about recent projects, and that one project I know that, again, kind of unfortunate in that you were cast as Winnie Gilmore in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. And I know from how this feels from personal experience as well, you ended up on the cutting room floor originally. What happened there?
You're gonna have to ask Rob Zombie. I asked him, and he said, "Oh, that wasn't me. That was the Weinsteins."
Ah,
so, may he rotten.
yeah.
That's what he said. I don't know why. It's a very, very funny little clip that at the beginning of the movie. It's really funny, and the film could have used some humor. And I really don't know. I see Michael Myers going through my garbage, and I call SpongeBob. I said, "There's somebody going through my garbage, and very sweet and nice, and like Winnie Gilmore sounds like." And he goes, "Yeah, right. There's someone going through your garbage. Look, hairy somebody." And I said, "No. Is someone really hairy and big going through my garbage?" And they said, "Oh, you know, it's a Bigfoot," and they're just making fun of me. And they say it's a rabbit. So Winnie suddenly gets really mad and goes, "It ain't no goddamn rabbit," you know. Anyway, they cut it. It's in the deleted scenes if you guys want to see the movie.
Right.
It you know, Nick, it's happened to you, right? It's just they did it with Constantine too, where I played a zombie. Best makeup you've ever seen. But that was because they shot it for the credits, the opening credits, and they didn't have any opening credits.
Right. Well, you mentioned conventions. You mentioned a couple of times before.
That's where I met you, and then I met you over at Chris's house.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
We're talking about Chris Rowe, guys, with my and Nick's esteemed manager.
And friend, how long have you known Chris Rowe?
20 years. And it's still lasting.
Yeah.
No, I've known him for 20 years. I helped to bring up his kids.
Yeah. And they're great kids.
He was always working all the time and, you know, obviously flying places, going to cons. And so I picked up his kids from school, and I don't have any kids. So they served a definite purpose in my life. And I'd pick them up and I'd feed them dinner or buy them dinner or whatever. I remember because once I said, "Oh my God, how do parents figure out different things to feed their kids every night? This is really challenging." The first time I picked up the kids at school, and one of the kids was 10, the other one was 8. And I felt so good. I don't know. It was silly. It was something I'd never done before. So yeah, I've known Chris for 20 years.
Wow. I said we talk about your book, Exorcising Your Demons.
And then we can talk about your book.
No, we're not. No, let's make it. We're coming up to the hour, and I want to make sure we do the luggage and the crypt questions as well. Your book, which you happen to have behind you.
I just happen to have it sitting there. And I mean, I've told so many stories but there's a wonderful story when people ask me if bad things happen on the set and stuff like that. I got a great story in here about something that happened
Right.
that just happened with me. And you can actually find, this is going to be a real tease. If you read the book and you watch the movie again, you'll find what I'm talking about.
Right.
That was a coffin.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I just did a film. They had little fangs.
Oh, right.
In a little coffin. So I just used fangs in 2 films.
Right.
They gave me the coffin. But anyway, yeah.
Right.
So
okay.
That's my book. The whole beginning of it, the whole first part of it is something I totally believe in, that actors, athletes, people, a lot of people, that you need a very strong support system in your life. You need somebody who'll say no. I
Right.
need someone who would say, don't go to California now. Like, you needed Chris.
Yeah.
But Chris is like 4 years old, if he was born yet. Malcolm says the same thing. Malcolm McDowell. He says,
Right.
oh, Chris, if you were my manager, then, and when I first came up, my whole life would have been different. And mine would have been totally different.
Yeah.
But so I didn't have a support system. So I just went ahead and made my own mistakes. So the first part of that, and it's about dreams.
Yeah.
You've got to follow your dreams, you know, and everybody in the world is going to try and take them away. You can't be an actress. You're too little. You're too funny looking. And besides, when I came up, you know, they skipped a generation like with Twiggy, but they were still with Jane Mansfield and Bridget Bardot, these really big, sexy women. And everybody said you can't be an actress. So you can't let negativity rule your life. You just have to go ahead and do what you want. And you can talk about it if you want, if you don't. So that's the first part of the book. The second part of the book is some of the stories I told you, how what I did to become an actress and found myself in, you know, the scariest movie of all time. So there's other stories. And then I get into the total auditions, screen tests, meeting Ms. Blair and her mother, and the first day on the set. And I try and concentrate on really funny stuff because people have heard a lot about the scary stuff. So I got a lot of funny stories in there of things that happen on the set. So that's what the kind of, I don't know if it's a how-to book about how to be an actress, but I know it's a how-to book about what not to do. And the most important thing is to follow your dream. If it's an actor, director, producer, wardrobe person, makeup person, mom that just wants to have a lot of kids, or a shopkeeper, whatever your dream is don't let anybody deter you for it, and just do it. And it just got cloudy in here. LA is very strange weather lately. There, it got light again. I mean, on this end. So that's basically what the book is about. And
right.
I have the Pazuzu statues. I have the script. You know, I have Captain Howdy's green pea soup, and a whole lot of stuff. So it's a fun book. And what I always say, the easiest way to get the book or any of the stuff behind me is to send me a private message on Facebook.
Right.
And I'll tell you how much it costs and what the details are and stuff like that. But what's the next holiday coming up?
Halloween. Day. I guess Halloween.
I guess. Yeah.
Halloween. Yeah. Good time to get. Yeah.
I did sell about 4 statues for Father's Day. I think 4 statues, a book, and you know I always do 8 by 10. So, do you have time to tell the audience about your book?
Well, it's such a long time ago since I did my book, What Monsters.
And your one-man show.
I'm a one-man show. I Am Monsters. I'm going to tell you what. Funnily enough, I've just done a podcast this evening. Before I interviewed you, I was on the other side of the camera and being interviewed for a podcast, and was talking about I Am Monsters a lot there. And people can go to my website to find out more about I Am Monsters. But I would like to ask you about luggage in the crypt questions to end this evening. So basically the idea is that you are an Egyptian princess. Queen, wasn't it? Princess, an Egyptian queen. And they've built you this wonderful, wonderful pyramid. But they've got to decide what you have got to decide what you would take with you into eternity. What film would you take with you?
Have you taken the tomb?
Yeah.
Or the pyramid?
Yeah. What film would you have with you?
All of them?
Say again?
Can I take all of them?
You could no, you've got to choose one. You've got to narrow it down a bit. Favorite film, basically.
Why is it so hard? Because it depends. You do this too. Different films have a deep love in your heart for different reasons. I mean, I have to say The Exorcist because what it's done for my life and how it changed my life. And, you know, I mean, I wouldn't even know Chris. So it would have to be The Exorcist. But like, I love shooting Helter Skelter, which is a story about the Manson.
Right.
And that did something else. And we talked about General Hospital. And I've actually shot 7 indie films since July.
Wow.
And I love them all because, you know, the thing about doing indie films as opposed to studio films, you can pay a lot less money, but you get these great parts to play. You know, from vampires, zombies, victims. I like playing victims too. Coming up.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. That's perfectly acceptable answer.
That's it's like having a bunch of kids. You want me to pick a favorite?
Okay. What about a favorite book?
Well, I want to say my older sister writes books, and she's written 18 comedy mysteries. The first one was Throw Darts at a Cheesecake, and it was about a Weight Watchers group that they all start getting killed when they reach their goal weight. And she had a bunch of nuns in there, and no one will remember Lulu and Tubby. They were comic book characters. So I have to give my sister a pitch. All her books are comedy mysteries. She writes a lot of historical novels, like how the film industry started in Colorado, actually.
Right.
But there's always a mystery involved in this bunch. Her name is Denise Dietz, if you ever want to look her up.
Denise Dietz.
But as far as me reading books, I guess the Anne Rice books, the Wishing Hour is a fabulous.
Right.
But the Witching Hour is absolutely the best one. That you know, the Vampire Lestat everybody knows about, but the Witching Hour becomes really romantic, involved with these two people. So without taking the time to think about other books that I read, that I do love the Anne Rice book.
Right. What about listening to music? What about an album? I'm
stuck in the 60s. I think that the day the music died.
Right.
So the Beatles will always be my favorite.
Right.
Whichever album. I think they came from another planet, like Einstein. They came from another place. But you know, I grew up with the Beatles, the Doors, Jimi Hendrix, the Mamas and Papas, people like that. But I do love Leonard Cohen. So I do. You know, I always like the Chicks, the Dixie Chicks, and of course Bohemian Rhapsody. So I like Queen. So there are some people after the 60s, but I don't think they'll ever have music again. Who's your favorite?
I listen to an awful lot of film scores, and I think recently Greatest Showman, absolutely inspiring film. And
I think so too. I love that film.
Say again?
I said I love that film as well.
Yeah. It's I think that's what I've been listening to a lot. This afternoon it was James Bond. I was listening to the James Bond themes.
James Bond's got to be inspiring. Come on, let's go.
Craig and I were hanging curtains the other evening and listening to James Bond, and we suddenly realized, because it was just the instrumental versions, but we knew all the lyrics. We were singing along to From Russia with
Oh,
Love
what
and so on.
fun.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
is Craig doing? Doing good?
He's doing very well. He's doing very well. He's downstairs. I think he's finished.
How long have you guys been together? Forever?
20 years. 20,
Wow.
over 20 years now.
That is a long time.
It
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Now, but back to you. What about a favorite food?
Thai food.
Ah.
I love Thai food. I could eat Thai food every night of the week.
Yep. Yeah. Pad Thai is my favorite. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And now I've been told I need to go on no carbohydrates.
Oh.
You know, turkey, chicken, vegetables, fruit. But you can cheat.
Yeah.
What's your favorite food?
Unfortunately, all the ones I now have to deny myself because I'm losing weight, and I've been very assiduously counting calories and then realizing I'd completely miscalculated the amount of rice I was eating by like 1,000 calories a day. And thinking that's why I'm not losing weight.
1,000 calories a day you're doing?
No, I'm on 1,700, but I was thinking I was having about 300 or 400 calories of rice. I was actually having about 800 or 900 calories of rice. I got it. I got the decimal place wrong. I got it so wrong. But yeah.
But you look great. I mean, how long are you going to do this? I mean, you have cheat days?
I've probably through until about September, October. I want. It's just I'm carrying too much weight at the moment, so I want.
Not right now. You are. You look great.
Yeah, but that's because you can't see from there downwards. It's all sitting around my waist at the moment, which is not good for men. It's not good for the heart, etc. Anyway,
no.
I
always like to say I've been on a diet since I was 17. Seriously.
Really?
I've been on a diet since I was 17 because I wanted to be an actress since, since 7. But once I really went out there to become an actress, I've been on a diet from then up till now. Sometimes I drive Chris crazy. Went out to dinner with us, and so well, I want bread and salad.
Right. Right. Yeah, you gotta eat. What about a piece of visual art, Eileen? If I ask you for a painting or a statue?
I love statues. It's my favorite form of art. Is statues that you hold. So I think I'd have to say. Not the David statue, but the mother, I think it's mother and child, where they're cradling, but certainly the David statue too.
Yeah, the La Pieta, the one of the Michelangelo Pieta, where she's holding the Christ. Yes, I know the one you mean. Yes, absolutely.
But I really like statues. They're doing a Van Gogh exhibit here.
Right.
That they've already extended it. It's so popular that they've already extended it. So I've never seen, I'm not sure, to see that kind of art in person.
Right.
It's an extraordinary experience.
Yes.
So I guess Thomas and I will find our way to go see the exhibit.
Right.
Nobody's ever answered me those questions before. That's really cool.
Oh, good. Okay, well, the last one is a luxury. What do you have, a little bit of a treat for yourself. What luxury would you miss or would you take with you?
I don't know if I can take it with me. My Thomas, who I've been with forever, we have two passions, which is boating / camping. And we have a little boat.
Right.
We take it out to the coves of Lake Mojave, and which is so simply beautiful. And there's nobody there. And there's nobody there more now because they're not renting houseboats anymore. I don't know what's happening, or gas is so expensive, but there are nights that just us in the middle of the lake. We count shooting stars. We get really competitive. It's kind of like, look. And the other person goes, where? I didn't see it. Damn. So that's what, I mean, and we're going to go around. We never go during the holidays except July 4th. I know you don't recognize it. But so we're going to be going in a couple weeks. People say, what do you do? Nothing. We don't do anything. We just sit there and enjoy the water and the view and the beauty.
Right.
And then we're passionate, degenerate football gamblers.
Right. Right. Right.
So
Well,
you can't take either one of them with you unless you take a
well,
bet.
we can arrange that your pyramid is so big it sits over
Can
the
I take
lake.
my boat with me?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's a little 13-foot boat. What is yours? What would you take with you?
I always dread being asked these questions. Yeah, because my instinctive would be, can I take Craig? But that seems really rather mean. It would be a library. It would just, you wanted to take every film with you. It would probably just be even just my library, because I know there are books here that I really want to read that I've never had the chance. So mine would be an infinite library where I could just sit down and spend years
Wow, that's
reading
so
stuff.
cool.
Yeah, no,
Because I never read anymore.
I,
Well,
I,
actually, go on.
I tend to read the same. I tend to read the same books because I tend to read to go to sleep at night. So I want something which is actually turning my brain off rather than trying to make me think. And I kind of think that's not why I used to read when originally. But anyway, listen, we're at well over our hour, and
Well, I
this
have
has
to ask
been,
you one question.
sure.
What's behind you?
Oh, it's the clock. This is the clock.
Well, I know it's the clock. Ooh, duh.
This is the chattering hour clock, which is now green for this series. It was red in previous ones. So
I'm
basically,
sorry. What is that? What is that?
it's the image that I use to promote the chattering hour. So I've got it on a green screen behind me.
Oh.
So it's a green screen basically. In the previous two series, it was red. This series, it's green. Just
I
because
like green.
Yeah.
And do you love? I know you have to go. Do you love doing the chattering hour? Because it sounds like you were born to do it.
Of course, I love it. I like you. I'm just very grateful, and Chris is getting a lot of mentions in this show, and it was Chris's idea. I'm so grateful to him for thinking of this. I get to talk to people, and I get to talk to people like yourself who are heroes of mine, because of your work and your attitude and your, what you've achieved. So yes, I really do love it. Absolutely.
You're certainly good. I mean, if I had to go to central casting and cast someone like you, I mean, you would definitely be at the head of the list. You ask good questions, you listen beautifully, and you got great humor, and your eyes twinkle.
Oh, you are just lovely. Lovely. Listen, I need to go.
But we've known each other a long time.
Well, we have known each other a long time. And
seen each other in different experiences. I always remember you being at Chris's house. When I think of you, I don't know why. I just think of you that one time that you were there.
You came over and we had a lovely meal together in the back garden with the kids and Chris and the boys.
You haven't been to the new house, have you?
Yes, no, I have. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah? And it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The backyard is just so incredible. But I live in a monastery, an old monastery. So.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. We'll save that for a different.
We'll save that for a different time. We'll do it through the keyhole. And
or if you read my book, you'll find out about it.
Eileen, thank you very much indeed. And hopefully you'll see you soon.
And I hope so too, now that everything's opening up. I hope to see you very, very soon.
My thanks again to Eileen Dietz. And now you know how that shot was done in The Exorcist. Join me next week on The Chattering Hour for some more fascinating stories from the world of horror, thriller, and suspense. And in the meantime, stay safe and well.